Sports trials are on paper one of the most nerve-wracking things an athlete ever faces. You have to impress immediately, otherwise you won't make the cut. And whilst coaches and scouts are looking at your technical and physical skills, a lot of the time they're actually just as interested in your mentality and how you generally present yourself as an athlete. The higher the level you're trying to play or perform at, what you often find is that the margin between you and other athletes in terms of skill gets narrower and narrower. And what ends up making more of a difference is your general attitude. Coaches and scouts are looking for athletes who have the potential to develop and grow. And while you may have raw talent, they want people who have their heads screwed on. So let's run through 5 simple things that will dramatically increase your chances of impressing at sports trials. Right, number 1 is straight to the point, and whatever you do, stop dicking around. What I mean by this is doing anything that shows even a hint of a lack of professionalism. Usually if you're going for a trial, it's to play for a team or get into a program that's currently at a higher level than you're currently at. And that high level is not just the standard of player performance, but it's also the standards of professionalism. What you tend to see at a lot of sports trials is people just rock up and they don't even talk to anyone. They just hang on the side of the court or the pitch waiting to be told to do something. And whilst they're doing that, they're just scrolling on their phones. And the coaches, they clock this stuff. If their very first impression of you is scrolling through TikToks on your phone, that's already a huge black mark against your name. And another thing that's so basic, but you'd be surprised how many people actually screw up on this, is just wearing the correct uniform. So back when I was a teenager, I went for a trial for county level football, and I got to this trial and there's about 80 boys there, and we all got split into 3 different 11-a-side games. And in the briefing, the coaches were telling us how long the games would be and also what formations everyone should play. And then one of the coaches said, "Has anyone not got shin pads?" And 3 boys put their hands up, and he just deadpan said, "You won't be playing today." And then the game I was playing in kicked off. I was playing left wing and the ball went immediately to the right winger of the opponent's team. So I went to go close this kid down, and then the very same coach just blew his whistle. And he pointed to that kid and said, "What's that?" And then the kid was wearing an ear stud. So this kid scurries off to the sideline to go take it out, and just as he's about to step back on the pitch, the coach blows his whistle again and says, "I didn't say you could come back on." And then he points to another kid and just says, "You right wing." And then this other kid comes on. And then that kid wearing the earring was the very last to actually get some minutes. I think he got about 10 minutes. And to be honest, when he came on, he was probably one of the best technically on the pitch. But the next week, they had the second trial where they cut it down to about 30 players. He wasn't there. So the point here is that the trial starts the second you arrive at the venue, and coaches don't have any time for any bullshit whatsoever. They want people who are professional. They will clock it when there's just a group of players on the sideline waiting around instead of warming up and getting ready for the trial. And this then leads to the second thing you must do, which is lead by example. Because at a trial, it is an awkward and quite nervy environment. Often no one knows anyone, and when you arrive, it can seem like there's no structure. Because the coaches are huddled together, chatting and preparing, they don't give any specific instructions right away. So a great thing you can do to stand out is just take a bit of initiative. Be one of the few players to actually go up to the coaches and introduce yourself. But I get that can be a bit awkward, so it's also just a good idea to have a specific question that you can ask, so you've actually got a reason to go up to them. So you could just say, "Hi, I'm Sam, looking forward to the trial. Just wanted to ask if we should start our own warm-ups, or is there going to be a group one led by you guys?" Something as simple as that. And you'd be surprised how much of a difference this can make. Just think about it. If during the trial there's you and maybe 2 other athletes who are of the same ability and there's not much between you, as a coach, who are you going to swing towards? The 2 that didn't say anything to you, or the guy who actually came up, introduced you and asked a relevant question? And that leading by example also goes for interacting with other athletes and players that are there. Look, you're not there to make friends because everyone is your competition and you've got a job to do of outperforming them, but that doesn't mean you have to all stand there in dead silence staring each other out. It's a great way to get to know people's names immediately so that when the trial game starts, you can shout out other people's names rather than that awkward thing of just shouting "yes mate" or the number that's on their bib or shirt. Doing this again just shows you're a lot more switched on and focused than other people there, that you're actually paying attention. And this is also thing number 3 that you want to do 100% of the time to make sure that you stand out. Going back to that dicking around point, another classic thing you see all the time at sports trials is just so many athletes daydreaming when the coaches are bringing everyone in to brief them on how the trial will work. Just stupid shit like basketball players spinning a ball around on their finger, or football players just juggling the ball still with their feet, or just people just looking into the distance and not actually staring at the coach. 1, that's just plain disrespectful to the people who are actually setting up and giving you an opportunity. And 2, just doesn't show you're serious, that you don't have the mindset and attitude that they're looking for in their players. So as much as this is basic, you want to show military style level of respect and attention to your commander. Stand up straight, face them with your head and body and look at them directly 100% of the time they're talking. If you're just looking around, you look disinterested, and they will be disinterested in having you become part of their team or squad. But sometimes you might miss something or not quite understand what the drill involves or the play they want you to run. So don't be afraid to seek clarification. Asking a thoughtful, deliberate question shows that you're still paying attention, that you just want to make sure that you get the thing right. A lot of coaches hate it when athletes just passively nod to all their instructions, then go out and run the drill, and from the start it's just a car crash. So if you have the guts to put yourself out there and actually actually just ask for something to be cleared up, they will be impressed by that. Now, I'm aware a lot of the things we've discussed so far is when the action's not actually happening. So these last 2 tips are actually focused on in-game or in-performance things that you can do. And so thing number 4 is something quite surprising: to actually embrace mistakes. So let me tell you a story about a basketball player I worked with a few years ago. So he went to a trial for a development program, which he was actually quite nervous about because it was definitely playing at a much higher level than he currently was. And so the scrimmage starts, his team win the tip and he's playing point guard. His team works through quite a few nice passes and then the ball gets out to him. He's on the edge of the 3-point line, completely open, jacks up a 3, and it completely airballs. It's the first shot of the entire scrimmage, and even people on his team are like, damn, and there's a few laughs. But luckily this didn't faze him. He simply reset himself by using the mantra, next one, and over the next 5 minutes or so, he sunk 4 3-pointers in a row. And so the lesson here is that mistakes happen. You know that, so why would you expect anything less in a trial situation? But because of the seriousness of the trial environment, a lot of players and athletes just start playing it way too safe. They won't try or do the things they normally do, and because of this, they end up playing okay, without any obvious errors. But because of this, they won't stand out. And remember, the goal of a trial is to stand out. It's to grab attention. So if you don't do anything attention worthy, you won't make the cut. So you want to accept that you have to still play with some element of risk, that you're not afraid to have a go. And when you do make a mistake, you need to show that you're someone who doesn't let that impact the rest of their performance. One of the key things coaches in any sport look for is resilience. And so if you make a bad mistake, but then bounce back and set it right, or have another go with the same level of drive and intensity, that shows coaches that you're resilient. And the last thing is a direct follow-on from tip number 4, and that is to not keep score. So this is one that, yes, is still somewhat about making mistakes, but it's actually more so about successes and wins throughout the trial. Because surprisingly, what happens more often you think is that a lot of athletes will have 1 or 2 good moments during a trial, and then they'll think that they've done enough. So they'll start playing it again too safe, or not with the same level of intensity anymore. So it may be they score a banger, or hit that almost impossible reverse layup, or make a couple of serious tackles. And that's all great, but coaches are looking for people who play hard and with intensity right up until the trial ends. Even if you scored a few times in the trial, you want to be desperate to score again in the last 30 seconds. After every successful moment, you need to mentally reset and almost pretend that it didn't happen. You don't want to keep scoring your mind thinking, I've done this, I've done that, so I've done enough. Because one of the things top coaches hate more than anything is complacency. They've been around long enough to see their team dominating for 3/4 of the match and then lose, or seeing an athlete of theirs dominate a race and then get pipped to the line because they celebrated too early. Your job does not stop until you leave the venue of the trial, not even when the final whistle goes. When you're still on the property, you're a competitor. You go up to the coach, you shake his hand, you thank him for the opportunity, you shake hands with other people there, and you only leave when they tell you you can leave. So if you do all these things, you'll significantly enhance your chances of impressing at trials and hopefully get that spot that you're looking for. I appreciate though that these moments can still cause a lot of fear. So if that's the case for you, check out this next video here that will help with that.